So starting for me of my project, I don't know which one this is. I think it's the seventh, maybe the seventh one I've painted, eighth, probably the fifth one in my series that I'm going to do. Anyway, whenever I start a new painting, not only do I clean the palette area, my mixing area, which I do in between every one of these sittings, which most of them, as you've seen, they're like 40 minutes. But I've started new piles. I take that paint up. By then it's gotten a little skim on it from drying and whatever. So you notice these are over here just because they were there before. Won't use them. I will use these three colors. I've just noticed I don't have my burnt sienna out. I'll put that out there because I always paint with burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. I cannot paint without those two. Those are the two most important colors for me. And yellow and red come along as they need to. Definitely more yellow than red. I could almost paint with yellow, blue, and burnt sienna, and that's it for the most part. The phone is pretty close. I'm trying to get it as little of an angle as I can and it not be in my way, because that's how close it is for me to put that long brush in there. So we'll see if this works. Sketched in about where I want it. It's not, as you see when I sketch, I try to make it accurate, but I don't get too wrapped up like his nose. I notice, of course I tried to correct it when I'll fix it when I paint. May cause me trouble. This is going to be a challenging one, but it's a good challenge. It's going to be a fun challenge for me. These are the ones that mean a lot to me. Always love this picture that I took of Amber and Matthew, and I have really waited for the time. It's going to sound kind of hokey, I guess, but waited for the time where I thought I was good enough to paint it. And I think that's an important thing to say, because there's so many people that I'll say I've taught, that have been in classes of mine, that the first thing they try to draw or paint is a picture of their grandkids or something, and I'm like, don't do that. You're never going to be happy with it. I wasn't either. I wouldn't. 15 years ago, I was not skilled enough to do a painting like this. Now I may have painted another person, right? Let me see if I can. Yeah. I painted people, but they weren't. And they may even have been pictures of my family I took, but it wasn't, this most precious image. Anyway, I think you know what I'm getting at. When you start, paint or draw your dog, or, and it's okay to paint stuff like this. Just don't do it as practice, and don't get frustrated when it's not perfect, because it's not going to be, right? I promise you. This is how I block in. It doesn't matter at all to me that I started with her hair, or that I started with the darks. A lot of artists will, they'll, define the way they paint, and they'll try to describe it, and they go, well, I always paint my darks in, and then I go to lights. And, there's a lot of logic in that, and especially if you're an oil painter, the oils, you want your darks to be thin. You really, most artists, they don't paint their darks thick paint, because if the oils can stand up, think of an oil like, that scared me. An oil paints are more like, think of them as peanut butter almost, where acrylics are more like yogurt. And even if I put it on heavy duty with acrylics, it still flattens. where oil will retain that brush, the thickness, if you will. And if you put that in your darks, and it has ridges and it's raised up, it'll catch light. The light will reflect, and it will put highlights, natural highlights in the darks that obviously you don't want. So I don't have that problem with acrylics, but again, I just kind of go after something that's easy, I guess, that I know is going to be pretty accurate. And that I've got to, I'm going to have to put a lot of effort into all this. Mostly, of course, the struggle will be in the details and the faces, because that is critically important. But I will also say that it doesn't matter how accurate I make eyelashes and freckles if this isn't right. A lot of what you're going to notice is it's kind of like Morgan Weisling told me that, and I've heard him say it on videos too, that his art teacher, Fred Fixler, who was a fantastic artist in his own right, he trained under him for like 3 or 4 years. And it wasn't like the third year he was teaching him brand new stuff than the year before. It was the same stuff over and over again. It was just mainly ingraining those concepts. And the reason I say that is you're starting to see that from me. I'm going to continue to take an opportunity to really tell you the same thing I did last time, because it's important. And I'm going to try not to spend a whole lot of time telling you things that I don't think are that important. So I apologize up front, but that's just part of the madness. Do I want, how much of her back, how much do I want this light showing? I think is important. So her hair comes back a little bit more. I guess what I'm gauging is, can I get by with putting her shirt? I don't like that light gap, I guess is what I'm getting at. And not obviously, whether I keep that gap or not, I'm not going to paint that highlight. So I guess it doesn't matter. I can put a darker tone. That to me is a border that doesn't need to be there. So I'll leave that gap. We'll figure it out later. Let's do this. That's basically just all three mixed together, all three primaries, and this is wet, so it's starting to mix. Probably got that angle wrong. The camera's a little bit in my way, but I'm not too worried about it right now. I just want to get an assessment of where this stuff goes. That's kind of purpley. I like that. This again, you know me, layer, layer, layer. His shirt's red. I'll make it red. If it stood out or competed, I wouldn't do that, but I see red in the background as well in people's shirts, so I'll make note of that. Reds, as you've heard me say, is a very challenging color for me, and it's just because of acrylics in general. And I think what I need to do after all these years is find a red that's just like out of the tube, kind of like you've seen I've done with purple and the brilliant green. That's just a light red that the manufacturers figured it out, I guess, and they basically add titanium white to it, but they do it in a way I don't know how to do it. because it's so challenging. Because if I add white to my red, it's going to be pink, and I'm going to do it just because that's what makes sense, right? You roll over to the light, and it's you add white, but to me that's not the color. I just daggone it ain't the color, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. I'm just at this point just trying to cover the canvas. What's that? Get that out of there. This kind of comes around her arm like that, something like that. Again, I know my stuff is not perfect. I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. And I'm just, if I can kind of paint the effect right now while I'm blocking in, I will. Again, this is a sleeve here, and it's got to read as a sleeve. And this is pretty futile, to be honest with you, what I'm doing here, but I'm just, because I got this paint on here, I'm going to just put a couple places where I kind of see that color, because I really love when I can get by with not painting the background. Of course, I'm painting right now, but again, I like when it can paint itself. And I know that sounds stupid because I've said that several times, but water and anything like that, things that I don't want to be, I really don't want to put a lot of effort in, a lot of focus in, I will just scrub paint and hope it just works. And it, sometimes it does. Sometimes I don't have to do much more on it. So while I've got this drawn, that I'm not sure what I did there because his goes here. And this is pure yellow out of the tube. And I know there's areas that it's darker and lighter. And I think because of just how this paint is, I think I'm just going to cover it all instead of what I did here. I don't know. Probably shouldn't do that. It's just so complex, I guess. This was pretty simple. This is so complex with everything going on here. There's a part of me that wants to paint all the lighter areas and then come in with the darks, and I think I'm just going to paint the whole dead burn thing. Besides the obvious shadow. I know that's a brighter one, a brighter light, if you will, brighter yellow. I'm just going to put this, just cover it. Again, as you see, there's no right or wrong way. The process is personal. The way you get to that end result is really up to you. You could do this painting and do very thin washes, very diluted acrylics over and over and over again. You can make it like that. You could get silly thick and paint alla prima like Richard Schmid. That's yellow. Again, the process, it's about the end result. You need to have fun with the process, and it needs to be a way that you do it where you're successful, obviously. But the goal, the goal of this is when I'm done, obviously I hope people like the way it looks. The main thing is I like the way it looks. And I had fun painting it, because if I don't have fun painting, if it's painful to paint it, I'm going to quit painting. I'm going to do something else. This is a hobby. Again, it's not my profession. So this is, don't go thinking I'm painting these people, because I'm not. I'm just putting little spots down where I see color. So dark, 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 dark. We will negatively paint this a little bit better. when it dries. Obviously, the faces are going to be fun. I don't want to say they're challenged. They're going to be fun. Yeah, baby. So let's. There's no rule, no recipe. I don't have one for how to paint this. What's the process to fill this stuff in? The main thing here is that is a cool color. When this is over, if anybody's still watching, I hope there's just like one person at least that still watches these. I'm going to paint. I'm going to instill in you this concept of temperature. It's the most underrated, for me, the most underrated thing that's that people do, even artists do. And some people take it too far. You know, if you're getting go look at Angerhart's the master of doing it. You know, some would say he probably pushes it a little much. I don't know, but it's you want your paintings to go from something that you do a good job of drawing, right? You draw the figures in really well, and that, you know, you've gotten to a point where they don't look like they're cartoony. They don't look like stickers stuck on a page. And you know, maybe your paintings have depth to them because you know edges, you understand perspective and things like that. Once you get to where you are very comfortable, because it takes courage to do it. When you feel comfortable with pushing temperature, and that's too warm. Now that I step back, it's too light and too warm, but that's okay. This is a layering process. I'm never going to nail it the first time. So, wow, in the camera. And I noticed last time I look in the back of the camera, and it does not look like the way the video looks. I mentioned something last time. It was something teal in the water. It looked really teal on the back of my camera. It didn't look like that when I posted the video. That's not as warm as what my camera shows right now. But I'm sure in the video, I mean, this is definitely a little too warm. But not that bad. It ain't that bad. How are we going to do this? There's so much going on. So much going on. Let's see if I can get to, with this little pile I got here of paint, can I get to the color that I'm wanting here? That's closer. I'll just go with this, and again, we'll probably have to do it a couple times. I'm painting in the, I hope you can see that. I'm painting in the dirt, because this is at a horse show. This is at the, obviously many years ago. If I say obviously, if you know us, know Matthew, who's, what is he now? 20, almost 21. He's 20. This was at the Kentucky Horse Park. Now remember this day, it was actually rainy when we got there. And it was one of the coolest things we got. And I you know, it's one of those things I'm like, you know, family's going, I'll go, and I really didn't want to go. Because I'm not a horse guy. I mean, they're fine, but it's not my jam. There's a girl's head there. What happened? What happened? Did you see that? What the heck? It died on me. And it shut down. What the heck? Are you seeing this? Why did that happen? I didn't do nothing. This is plugged in, isn't it? Mayday, mayday. Well, it honestly was not plugged in. There's that little middle thing, right? I don't know what you call it, little middle brick, if you will, that it had pulled out as I pulled it this way. Dead burnt. I'm gonna hide so you can't see. so you don't drive over to my house and steal my coat. There's a girl's hair right there, head right there, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. I just want to kind of put that in, and again, we'll have to lighten it. It's just too bleh. Too bleh. What was I saying? I'm sure it was damn important. You were digging it. You were digging it. Red shirt, Red shirt. I don't want him to stand out too much, but it's a pretty red shirt. Now, one of the problems I think I've got, and I actually do have naphthol. I think it's naphthol red light I've got over there. This is the medium, and this is, of course, you see it's very watered down right now. But I'm wondering, that's daggone watery. It's all right though. Let's see here. Like that. Saying something, don't know. Now this does, see, my pinky will get pinky. My pink color will work on his hat. See that? But it won't work here. That's red deer. His hat's kind of been through it, I guess, if you'd say. Is my hand in the way? Can you tell me? Please tell me, is my hand in the way? Yes, you moron. This whole video's useless because your hand was in the way. When you put these strokes down, especially on the early stages, put them down with a little swiftness, and don't overwork that. Don't blend that. We got plenty of time to straighten that up if we don't like it, but most of the time what happens is there's some strokes that you'll make when you're underpainting that you don't, you do it a little cavalier, if you will, and they work out good. It's like, ooh, that's just what I needed. It's going to be fun. This one's going to be fun. Aren't you having fun? I'm having fun. It's got to look like bleachers. A lot more work. I'm just kind of all this is me thinking. It's, the strokes I'm putting down right now, they're not going to be there. I know they're not. They're almost notes to myself. It's hard to really. It's honestly really hard to sit here and articulate what I'm doing. Even forget what I'm thinking. What are you doing, John, right now? I'm like, I really don't know. You dumb out a little, or I do. It's that driving down the road. It's almost like, for me to do these videos, it's almost like I'm asking myself, hey John, zone out. Do a good job painting, which means for me I need to zone out, like I'm driving down the road and I'm not using my left brain, so I've zoned out. I'm almost in a coma, mental coma or something. And while I'm doing that, now I'll talk, right? Normal, let's be honest, anytime that we have done, and all of us have done it, you drive and you forget where you're at, and you're like, oh my God, did I miss my turn? Did I run over someone? Hell, what just happened? You're never in a car talking to someone. You may lose track of what you're doing when you're talking, but it's always when you're by yourself, you listen to radio and you just zone out. And if you ask someone while they were in that zone to describe anything, they couldn't, right? Because they're zoned out. Their brain ain't working. So I'm kind of struggling, to be honest. Allowing myself to switch to the right side of the brain, which is what you need to do as an artist, in my opinion, and in Betty Edwards' opinion, I think a lot of people's opinion. That's when I do my best work. But I can't do that because I've got to stay conscious. I've got to stay conscious. Now this again, is this going to stay this way? No, I don't know. But if I don't put it in, I can't fix it later if I don't like it. Can't fix it later. There's a shadow right here. The shadow dark spot. It's important. It is. This should be much cooler than I painted it. I had too much burnt sienna. This, though's a little lighter, but it's definitely stays on the cool side. Same there. Same there. Uh-oh. Boss home. The boss is home. Don't tell her. Let's see. How are we going to paint? I like to just go back and forth and back and forth and back. You know that. How are we going to go at these faces? And what I'm saying is, for me, there's two options. One is to paint the entire mid-tone. You know, pick a value that I think is the mid-tone, paint it over the whole thing, and then add it. But as you look at this is not a sunny day. It was raining that day. It's bright, but that highlight is cool. It's a cloudy. You see it on his hat. It's a cloudy casted light. So any cast shadows, this right here, that dark spot is warmer than that. So it's about, for me, to paint this accurately, and it's going to be a struggle no matter which way I do. But it's a fun struggle. I'm going to paint each one of these areas. I'm going to paint the lights, and they shift, and then I'm going to paint the darks, and I'm going to think temperature. Think temperature. I've also got to think drawing, because that's not perfectly accurate, right? I've sketched something in there, and it's close, but there's little shapes that's going to help define. It's like this, as I'm looking at it now, this chin, she doesn't have that, right? See how her chin comes, it's sharp. I've got it kind of bowed. Little tiny things like that are important. So, shut up, quit talking, mix a warm. So what is the warm? What's the magic warm Caucasian? There isn't one. There's not one. Everybody's a little different. And if I don't know that right there, just so you know, that is burnt sienna, a touch of red, and white. Now, what amount of each one? Hell, I don't know. I just reached down there and kept, it was too dark, and then I changed it. Now, it's different there than it is there. Different here than it is there. This is a little darker than what I'm putting down, but it's the right temperature. It's the right temperature. No, we don't want to come up. Can't forget that. This is a cool light. So I'm going to leave a little spot there. I'm going to come back in with that. Almost shadow. Almost. Right? Because you really have to think about where's it light and where's it dark. Right? Where's the shadow? And it almost, well, this is going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but we're going to get it. Now, one thing I know for a fact, take it to the bank. I ain't quitting. I ain't a quitter. Even though I know from experience this is going to be it's going to be tough. All I did was add white because I wanted to soften that. And again, I'm not in any way trying to attempt to paint this like it's going to be finished. I've got to put a lot more paint over this. Hold my breath, hold my breath. Holding that breath. As your nose comes on out there a little further. Nose comes out there a little further. A little too big. I know. I heard you. Damn it. All right, let's see. Too dark, probably. Yeah, too dark. Sorry. Mental note, fix it later. Mental note, fix it later. Is it close? Not even. But that's okay. I'm all right with that. I'm okay. All right. I'm doing okay. Doing okay. So what is that compared to that? What is that compared to? It's warmer. It's warmer. Good answer. Good answer. Some of these